I had just stepped off the plane after a business trip when I ran into my ex-wife's sister at the airport. She asked me, "It's been 7 years. When are you going to apologize to my sister?" Her sister, Chloe Sterling, is my ex-wife, a CEO who held the New York elite in the palm of her hand. Yet it was she who, to protect her childhood sweetheart's reputation, allowed my mother to fall into a vegetative state and had my sister, a lawyer, sent to prison. She wished me a long life with my supposed lover, but I had never been unfaithful. I was just the one she wounded so deeply that I had to flee New York City in the dead of night. And now, here was my former sister-in-law, Jessica, trying to convince me to go groveling for a second chance. I had to laugh. My kid's already in kindergarten. What's there to reconcile? She stared at me, incredulous. What did you say? You're married. Her voice faltered as if she'd heard the most absurd thing imaginable. And I have a child, 4 years old, I added with a nod, having no desire to get entangled with her. I tried to walk past her to leave the airport, but she grabbed my arm, holding me in place. Ethan Hayes, you have to be joking, right? Her agitated voice grew shrill, drawing curious stares from the people around us. Ethan, you can't possibly be married. How could you ever give up on my sister? Everyone in our circle knows how much you loved her, how you gave up that high-paying job everyone envied just for her. How could you possibly marry someone else? I frowned, surprised she would dredge up ancient history just to prove her stubborn point. It was true I had loved Chloe deeply, but that was a lifetime ago. And once, Chloe had loved me too. Anything I so much as glanced at, no matter how difficult to obtain, would appear before me the very next day. That all changed the day her childhood sweetheart, Liam Carter, botched my mother's bypass surgery by arrogantly performing it one-handed. Humiliated by his failure, he dropped his scalpel and fled the operating room, leaving my mother to slip into a coma, a vegetative state from which she never recovered. When my sister, Sarah, filed a lawsuit against him, her law license was revoked within 2 days, and she was railroaded into a 3-year prison sentence on trumped-up charges of perjury, bribery, and defamation. I tried to expose him publicly, but my personal information was leaked online, turning me into a target for endless harassment. And the mastermind behind it all was my wife of 7 years, the woman who could move mountains in New York City with a single phone call, Chloe Sterling. I watched my mother's vital signs plummet as the monitors blared their warnings. I pressed the nurse's call button again and again, but no doctor ever came. Just then, Chloe appeared at the doorway, looking regal in a couture dress. She held her phone out to me and said coldly, "I've already had the police report withdrawn. Record a video, a public apology, and Mom can have her surgery. You can choose. Let our mother remain in a vegetative state or let her die." Her tone was completely flat. I stared at her with bloodshot eyes, my body trembling, and managed to force out a single word, "Why?" For a split second, a flicker of pity crossed her face, but her words still defended him. Ethan, Liam, and I grew up together. What happened in the surgery was just an accident. Even if he hadn't used one hand, Mom might not have made it off the operating table. All you have to do is record a video explaining that, and this will all be over. The doctors are waiting in the OR right now. Afterwards, I'll get Sarah out of prison, okay? When I didn't answer, Chloe's patience wore thin. If you don't agree, your mother won't live through the day, and your sister will rot in prison forever. The moment the words left her mouth, my mother began to convulse. The monitors shrieked, the piercing sound stabbing at my eardrums as a team of doctors rushed in and began wheeling her bed out of the room. Trembling, I reached for the phone, my jaw clenched. "I'll record it. I'll drop the lawsuit. I'll do whatever you want. Just save my mother. Please, she can't die." Chloe gently opened the recording app for me herself. In 30 seconds, I renounced all claims and declared my mother's condition the result of an unfortunate accident. I handed the phone back to her and asked weakly, "Can they operate on my mother now?" Chloe finally gave the word, "Start." But before she had even finished the word, a voice cried out from the operating room. "I feel so dizzy." It was Liam. Hearing his voice, Chloe rushed over in a panic, ordering the other doctors to help him out of the room. The entire medical team swarmed around him, leaving my mother completely abandoned on her gurney. I screamed frantically, "Chloe, you promised you'd save my mother. You can't leave." I lunged to block her path, but her eyes were only for Liam. Without even a glance in my direction, she frantically led the doctors into the adjacent room. Seeing my mother lying there, fading away, I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. The thud of my head hitting the wall finally caught Chloe's attention. She pointed back toward the operating room, dispatching 2 interns to my mother's side before turning to me, her face a blank mask. Your mother won't die. I always keep my promises. Suddenly, I couldn't take it anymore. As I collapsed, only one thought consumed me. I had to leave. I had to disappear from Chloe's world completely and never see her again. When I opened my eyes again, a credit card sat on my bedside table with a note tucked beneath it. Mom's surgery will have to wait. Liam has been emotionally unstable lately and can't be away from me for too long. The operation would take hours. He wouldn't be able to handle it. Reading those words, I let out a laugh, a sound of pure despair. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Mr. Sterling, I'll agree to the divorce, but I have one condition. Help me fake my death. I need to take my sister and my mother and disappear from this city forever. The day I was discharged, I returned to our mansion with the divorce papers my lawyer had prepared. Chloe was just about to leave to pick Liam up from the hospital. Seeing my gaunt face, a flicker of concern crossed her eyes. You look so pale. I didn't answer, just held the papers out to her, my face devoid of expression. Sign it. For a moment, she looked confused. What is this? As she reached for it, her phone buzzed in her hand. After a quick glance at the message, she became agitated. Without even reading what she was signing, she scribbled her name on the document. Liam's waiting for me, she said hurriedly. If you have work contracts in the future, just leave them in my study. I said nothing. I just turned and went straight to the courthouse to file for divorce. That night, as I was getting ready for bed, Chloe came into the room. Because of what happened with Mom's surgery, Liam's professional reputation is in tatters, she announced, as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. I'm hosting a gala. You will apologize to him, attribute Mom's condition to standard surgical risks, and put an end to these rumors to restore his good name. I thought I must have misheard. Impossible, I said, my voice trembling. Chloe's patience snapped. Don't forget, your mother's life is hanging by a thread, and your sister is still in prison. In that instant, any will I had to fight back was completely crushed. I was powerless against her. At least until we could escape, I had to obey. I closed my eyes, swallowing my pride. Fine, I'll do it, but you have to get Sarah out of prison first. Chloe hesitated for a second before agreeing, but she set a condition. It would happen in 1 month. On the night of the gala, the moment I walked in, her eyes were on me, urging me forward. I dug my nails into my palm and walked onto the stage, my face a placid mask. I've organized this event tonight to apologize to Dr. Carter. The recent speculation online was the result of a misunderstanding on my part. I would like to formally apologize to him now. I'm sorry. The crowd erupted, a wave of condemnation washing over me for having subjected Liam to public persecution for no reason. I offered no explanation. After the apology, I turned to leave, but Liam's voice stopped me. Ethan, I left something important in my car. Could you go grab it for me? I knew I couldn't refuse, so I turned and left the ballroom. As I approached the car, I heard the screech of an engine. Suddenly, several men in black jumped out, grabbed me by the hair, and began beating me. I tried to fight back, but 2 more appeared from behind, pinning my arms. I gritted my teeth. Who are you? There are security cameras everywhere. One of the men leaned in, his eyes cold and menacing. You crossed, Mr. Carter. We could kill you right here, and you'd still have it coming. He grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the car window. The glass shattered, leaving a bloody hole. That was only the beginning. He did it again and again until the ground was littered with blood-soaked glass. Finally, he stopped and tossed me to the pavement. Then, the car's headlights flared to life, and the engine rumbled. As the vehicle started to roll toward me, I heard a sharp voice cry out, "Stop!" Through my blurry vision, I saw a figure rushing toward me, but before I could see who it was, I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, Chloe was sitting by my bedside, her eyes red. Seeing that I was awake, she let out a sigh of relief. Thank God you're okay. I've already looked into it. It was a case of mistaken identity, disgruntled patients who thought you were Liam. I've already had them sent to prison, so you don't have to be afraid. Does your head still hurt? Try to move. See if anything else feels wrong. My voice was hoarse. Chloe, what if I told you it wasn't a mistake? What if I told you I heard them say Liam sent them? Would you believe me? Chloe frowned, releasing her grip on my hand. Ethan, that's going too far. Liam is a victim in this too. If it weren't for you, he'd be the one lying in this hospital bed. I promise, once things settle down, I'll spend less time with him, perhaps out of guilt. She stayed by my side the entire night, just like old times. The next morning, I was still asleep when the door to my room was violently kicked open. I was yanked from the bed. Where's Liam? Chloe demanded. What did you do with him? I was completely bewildered. Chloe's face was a thundercloud as she threw a blood-stained watch at me. This is yours. isn't it? Liam sent me a frantic text for help last night. By the time I got to the hospital, he was gone. This watch was the only thing left on his bed. I numbly held out the watch. It has nothing to do with me. I knew this was just another one of Liam's schemes, but Chloe wouldn't believe me. To force me to release him, she had my sister, Sarah, brought from the prison. A car started its engine and accelerated, driving directly over my sister's legs. Sarah's agonizing scream sent a hot rush of blood to my head, and my vision turned red. "Chloe, have you lost your mind?" Her expression remained unchanged. "Ethan, the countdown starts now. The car will move every 60 seconds, starting with her limbs. If you haven't told me where Liam is in 3 minutes, the final target will be your sister's head." A minute passed. The car lurched forward again. As it was about to hit her, I didn't hesitate for a second. I threw myself in front of Sarah, who was forced to her knees. The impact on my back sent me flying through the air. Chloe rushed to my side, helping me up, her fingers frantically wiping the blood from my lips. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Just then, her assistant hurried over and whispered, "Ma'am, we found him. Mr. Carter was just hiding." She looked down at me, my consciousness fading in her arms, then glanced at her phone, where Liam's faked screams were probably still saved. As the ambulance arrived, she made her choice. "Take my husband to the hospital," she ordered her staff. "Get him the best doctors. Make sure he's okay. I'll be there shortly." I wanted to laugh, a bitter, sarcastic laugh, but I couldn't even summon the strength to smile. After 6 hours of emergency surgery, I pulled through. I called Chloe's father. "Mr. Sterling," I said, my voice raspy, "is everything ready? Book 2 plane tickets for me. I need to leave the second this is over." I didn't tell anyone the day I was discharged. Instead of going home, I went to see my sister and mother. Sarah's limbs were shattered, and my mother was still unresponsive. They had been placed in the same hospital room. As I pushed open the door, I saw a doctor standing by my mother's bed. His back looked disturbingly familiar. A sense of dread washed over me as I rushed forward, shouting, "Liam, what are you doing?" I shoved him aside, and a syringe clattered to the floor. Liam jumped, then visibly relaxed when he saw it was me. A venomous smile spread across his face. "As long as she's alive, I'm a pariah. This whole thing only goes away when your mother is dead." My fists clenched, my vision darkening with rage, and I swung. The punch sent Liam sprawling to the floor, a look of pure disbelief on his face. I raised my fist to strike again, but someone rushed past me, shielding him with her body. "Ethan!" Chloe's voice was sharp, her face grim. Liam, still shaken, slowly came to his senses. Chloe helped him to his feet, her displeased gaze fixed on me. "Apologize to him, now." But Liam played the magnanimous victim. "It's fine, Chloe. What good is another apology? He's apologized enough. Forget it. I'll just request a transfer. I can stay out of his way." As Liam turned to leave, Chloe grabbed his arm. "Liam, tell me, what will it take for you to forgive him?" Liam paused, feigning consideration. "Ethan seems to be in a very bad state mentally. An old classmate of mine is a psychiatrist. Maybe I could send him there for treatment." Thinking he was just suggesting I get help, Chloe agreed immediately. That very day, I was bound and taken to the clinic. Only when I arrived did I realize Liam's psychiatrist was no doctor at all. He was a hired sadist. The following week was a living nightmare. The man was an expert in torture, using drugs and electroshock, his methods brutal but precise, leaving no visible marks for Chloe to discover. For 7 days, I cycled between consciousness and unconsciousness, waking only to new agony. Just as I felt my sanity fraying, Chloe finally came to get me. She was waiting at the door when I was released, a frown on her face. "It's only been a few days. Why do you look so terrible?" My face was hollow, my skin ashen, but there were no visible injuries. I didn't answer her, just stood there in silence. Chloe opened her mouth to say something else, but her phone buzzed. After reading the message, she remembered. "It's Liam's birthday tonight. Get yourself together and come with me." She didn't wait for a response, just pulled me into the car. I had only one thought. The time had come. All the pieces were in place. It was time to end this. That evening, I arrived at Liam's birthday party on his yacht. As I stepped onto the deck, he blocked my path. "How is it you're not dead?" I specifically told him to up the voltage. Or maybe the drugs he used were expired. His voice was dripping with gleeful malice. I ignored his taunts and continued texting Mr. Sterling. "The plan is a go for tonight. I'll follow Liam's lead." The moment I hit send, he slapped the phone out of my hand, and it clattered onto the deck. A sarcastic smile touched my lips. "Feeling proud of yourself, Liam?" I leaned against the railing, each word carefully chosen to twist the knife. You can't possibly think you've won, can you? All your little schemes, even risking your own neck, all to drive me away so you could take my place. Do you know what Chloe tells me when we're alone? She says she's only helping you because she's grateful for what you did for her as a child. She says she hates having to hurt me, and that as soon as you're stable, she's going to ask you to leave. Liam's face went pale with rage. I laughed. Chloe will never love you. If she didn't fall for you after all those years growing up together, she never will. I am her only husband. Do you have the guts to kill me? Because as long as I'm alive, you will never, ever have her. Only husband. Those two words made his pupils constrict. With all his strength, he shoved me hard. Chloe and I grew up together. How could I lose to an outsider like you? I deliberately let go of the railing, allowing myself to plummet into the dark water below. The splash was drowned out by the sounds of the party. The tracker clutched in my palm sent out its signal. Soon, I would be free of this world of darkness, deceit, and betrayal. By the time Liam realized what he'd done, I was gone. His heart hammered in his chest. He stared at his hands, then at the churning black water below, a wave of panic and terror washing over him. But he quickly composed himself. No one saw, no one would know, and even if they found out, he could just say it was an accident. Chloe would believe him. She had sided with him when my mother's surgery went wrong, hadn't she? This would be no different. You brought this on yourself, Ethan, for getting in my way. Chloe is mine. She can only be mine. After a moment, he took a deep breath and turned to head back inside. But a figure suddenly appeared behind him. It was Chloe. As she approached Liam, her heart gave a sudden, painful lurch. Her brow furrowed, and her gaze shot past him to the turbulent waves. A terrible premonition seized her, a feeling that she had just lost something irreplaceable. She frowned. Hasn't Ethan arrived yet? Liam moved to her side, taking her hand. I haven't seen him. I waited, but he never showed. He's probably still sulking and decided not to come. It's fine. I'm used to it. His casual tone was disarming. The worry in Chloe's eyes subsided, and the strange feeling in her gut faded. He's so spoiled. If he doesn't want to come, fine. The party began. The smile on Liam's face widened. As long as you're here, no one else matters. Friends wheeled in a cake, and everyone began to sing. Liam blew out the candles with a smile, his eyes fixed on Chloe with hopeful expectation. My birthday wish, he announced, is to be with Chloe forever. A murmur went through the crowd. Was that a confession? He finally said it. He beat Ethan to the punch. Chloe has to divorce him now and show how she feels. See? The childhood sweetheart always wins in the end. The teasing grew louder. Chloe's brow furrowed. Flustered, she scanned the crowd, a habitual search for my face, but I wasn't there. Her expression instantly cooled, and a strange irritation pricked at her. Meeting Liam's hopeful gaze, she took a subtle step back, her voice tinged with ice. Don't make jokes like that. I'm married. Ethan would be upset if he heard you. Liam and I grew up together, and I'll always be grateful for his help when we were children, but that's the extent of our relationship. Please don't make jokes like that again. The air turned frigid. Liam's smile froze on his face, and an awkward silence fell over the party. Chloe didn't seem to notice. After giving him his gift, she sat off to the side, sipping her drink listlessly. Her eyes kept drifting to the entrance, even though she knew I wasn't coming. When I didn't appear, she checked her phone again and again, but there were no new messages. The last texts were from a month ago, which only soured her mood further. Ethan, nobody wanted what happened with the surgery. Let's just move past it. Liam is going to stay with us for a while. Try to be understanding. Ethan, you went too far this time. Liam has already arranged things with the psychiatrist. Cooperate with the treatment. I'll pick you up in a week. I hadn't sent her a single message in the last month. The entire chat history was a one-sided stream of her texts, all unanswered. Staring at the screen, Chloe finally realized just how fractured our relationship had become. It was all her, talking endlessly about Liam, while I treated her like a stranger, not even bothering with a one-word reply. A knot of frustration tightened in her chest, and she began drinking, one glass after another. Eventually, feeling dizzy, she excused herself to a quiet room to lie down and quickly fell asleep. Later that night, a warm hand traced her waist. Half asleep, she assumed it was me. It was a familiar comfort. She took the hand in hers and turned, snuggling into the embrace. She was a light sleeper, prone to waking in the night, and whenever she did, I would pull her close and gently pat her back until she drifted off again. After 6 years, it was a habit etched into our very beings. Go to sleep. The voice was wrong. Chloe's eyes snapped open. The body next to hers felt different. I have a large frame, but I'd lost so much weight recently that my embrace had become bony and sharp. I always smelled faintly of the woodsy incense I liked. This person was softer, less gaunt, and smelled of antiseptic, a scent I despised. Her mind reeled, and she was suddenly terrifyingly awake. She shot up in bed and looked down to see Liam. He smiled gently. "Chloe," she frowned. "What are you doing here?" Liam kept smiling. "Of course it's me. You had a lot to drink, so I brought you some water with honey in case you felt sick. But as soon as I came in, you grabbed my hand and wouldn't let go." His eyes were bright with intent as he sat up, leaning in to kiss her. But before he could, Chloe pushed him away. "Liam, you're misunderstanding. I have a family. I have a husband. For you, I feel nothing but gratitude." Liam stared at her, stunned. What? He never expected such a blunt rejection. After all the concern she had shown him lately, how could it just be gratitude? He was so shocked that his body went limp. But this time, Chloe, who was always so quick to care for him, didn't move to help. She just watched as he slid off the bed and onto the floor. Her expression was calm, but he felt an unmistakable chill. "You helped me through a very dark time when we were children. In many ways, I owe my life to you. That's why I protected you after the surgery failed, but that's as far as it goes. The controversy has died down now, and I won't press the matter further. I'll give you a generous sum of money. You can continue your work at the hospital, and once things are completely settled, I'll arrange for you to move out of our house. We can still be friends. But Liam, the only person I love is Ethan. He is my only husband." For years, he had watched Chloe love me. When he returned, he saw her side with him again and again, fighting with me, hurting me, all for his sake. He thought this time was different. But now she was saying they were just friends? "Chloe," Liam began, but she had already lost her patience. She picked up her phone and dialed my number, only to be met with an automated voice. "The number you have dialed is not in service." Not in service? In our 6 years of marriage, my phone had never been off. She stared at her phone's wallpaper, a picture of me smiling in the sun, and a wave of dizziness washed over her. How long had it been since she'd seen me smile like that? Lately, my face had been a pale, emotionless mask, my expression numb, especially yesterday when I came out of that clinic. I had just stood there, silent, unresponsive to anything she said, my eyes dead and empty. There was even a hint of relief in them, as if I had finally given up on her completely. Her heart sank as that ominous feeling returned, stronger this time. Forgetting all about Liam, she rushed home. The mansion looked the same. The expensive watches, the countless presents, all the gifts she had ever given me were still in their places. But then she noticed it. My things were gone. My toiletries, my clothes, even my personal photos had vanished. In the framed pictures on the wall, my image had been neatly cut away. Chloe's frown deepened. She instinctively tried my number again. "We're sorry. The number you have dialed is no longer in service." The automated voice was chilling. She tried again and again, but the result was always the same. Her spirits plummeted. A heavy weight settled in her chest as the unease grew into full-blown panic. But wait, she thought. Sarah and my mother were still at the hospital. He must be there with them. Yes, that had to be it. She forced herself to believe it as she rushed to the hospital. When she arrived, her heart was pounding. Clinging to that last shred of hope, she pushed open the door to their room, only to have it shattered. The beds were stripped bare. My mother and sister were gone. For a moment, the blood in her veins turned to ice. How could this be happening? She was about to call her assistant when a text came through. "Ms. Sterling, a package has arrived from your husband. It requires your signature. You should probably come home." Hearing my name, a spark of life returned to Chloe's eyes, and a bit of color returned to her pale cheeks. She let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding and headed for the exit. She stumbled slightly, almost amused by her own frantic hope, then took a deep breath and rushed home. Chloe sped back to the mansion, turning a 2-hour drive into one. For the first time in her life, every red light felt like an eternity. She burst through the front door, her voice filled with desperate hope. "Ethan," but the moment the door swung open, she froze. The mansion was empty. There was no sign of me anywhere. She frowned and turned to her assistant. "What's going on?" "You said Ethan." Before she could finish, her assistant handed her an envelope. "Ma'am, we did receive a package concerning your husband. It's a certificate of divorce. For you and him." The world seemed to roar in Chloe's ears, and her mind went completely blank. "What did you say?" She stood frozen, staring at the document. It was a divorce certificate, no doubt about it, bearing both of our names. She stared at it, her eyes turning red with strain, until she finally spoke, her voice a hoarse whisper. "How can we be divorced? I never agreed to this. How could he divorce me on his own?" Her first instinct was that it had to be fake. She had never consented to a divorce, so how could I have possibly obtained a certificate? This had to be me, throwing a tantrum, trying to get a rise out of her. Yes, that had to be it. Chloe's breathing steadied as she forced a veneer of calm over her rising panic. I never agreed to a divorce. This is a fake. Find out where Ethan has gone, she commanded, clutching her chest. I don't care what it takes. Find him and bring him back to me. Her staff nodded and left. For the next few days, Chloe waited. At first, she was convinced I was just being difficult, that once they found me, she could smooth things over. But as the days dragged on with no news, her heart grew heavier. 3 full days passed. There was no news, and my phone still went straight to a deadline. After another sleepless night, Chloe sat on the edge of her bed, having just ended another fruitless call with her assistant. She covered her face in frustration, the only sound in the silent room the frantic thumping of her own heart. Suddenly, she heard the door click shut. A pair of hands rested on her arms. A flash of hope ignited in her eyes, and she threw herself into the newcomer's embrace. Ethan, is it you? But the voice that answered was Liam's, full of false concern. Chloe, it's me. The staff said you didn't eat dinner. I was so worried I made you some soup. You should have some. Chloe's face fell. The hope vanished, replaced by a wave of irritation and dread. She shoved the bowl away, pushing him back with it. I don't want it. Take it away. And don't come looking for me again unless it's an emergency. I'm busy. Her mind was consumed with thoughts of me. She had no patience for Liam's games. Get out. He hesitated, wanting to stay. Chloe's patience finally snapped. Get out. As reluctant as he was, the cold fury radiating from Chloe was genuinely frightening. He left the soup on the table and hurried out. I'll just leave this here, in case you get hungry, he said, his voice laced with a pathetic, wounded tone. I'll be waiting outside. Normally, that would have been her cue to comfort him. This time, she didn't even look at him. She just leaned wearily against the headboard, covering her face with her hands. 3 days. It had been 3 days since she'd seen me. It wasn't as if they'd never been apart. When I was in the hospital, she'd gone a week without visiting. After Liam returned, she was so busy escorting him everywhere that she could go months without seeing me and not think twice about it. But for some reason, this time felt different. This time, a deep, unshakable anxiety had taken root. No self-reassurance worked. Only seeing me standing right in front of her could make it go away. As she was lost in thought, the door was pushed open. Assuming it was Liam again, she grabbed the bowl of soup and hurled it at the door. I told you to get out. Are you deaf? Ma'am, it's me. Chloe looked up, startled, to see her assistant standing in the doorway. The defeated look in her eyes gave way to a flicker of hope. Well, do you have news? The assistant's expression was grim. She stammered, we confirmed it. The divorce certificate is real. Staring at the divorce agreement in her assistant's hand, Chloe wanted to deny it, but a memory flashed in her mind, silencing her protests. A month ago, I had come home from the hospital and handed her a document. She had been in such a rush to pick up Liam that she'd signed it without a second glance. She had assumed it was just another business contract. She never imagined. Chloe closed her eyes in agony, a throbbing pain starting in her temples. So that's what it was. A divorce agreement. He had been planning this for a month. He had waited until she was at Liam's birthday party, and then he, his mother, and his sister had vanished. There's something else, her assistant said hesitantly. You should probably prepare yourself. Chloe looked up, confused. Then she heard her assistant's strained voice. We just received a scheduled file delivery. It's from your husband. She placed a laptop in front of Chloe. A single file was on the screen. Before she even opened it, the air in the room grew cold. Chloe felt a sudden, chilling premonition. For 3 days she had been desperate for any news of me, but now that it was here, she was terrified to open it. Her intuition screamed that opening this file would unleash a pain she couldn't possibly endure. Her eyelashes fluttered, and her heart twisted into a tight knot. Her knuckles white, she finally reached out with a trembling finger and clicked play. The video began. The first scene showed Liam grabbing my hand and forcing it onto a scalding hot pan. The next clip showed her bursting into the room as Liam clutched his stomach, screaming that I had poisoned him with something he was allergic to, and she had believed him. The second scene, Liam hiring thugs to beat me, then passing it off as an attack by disgruntled patients. She had believed that, too. When I refused to speak to her afterward, she assumed I was just sulking and didn't visit me once during my week-long hospital stay. The third scene, Liam staging his own kidnapping and framing me for it. Her tying up my sister, threatening her life, to force a confession out of me. The final scene was a video of my torture in that so-called psychiatric clinic. Following Liam's instructions, the doctor had shown no mercy. I was strapped to a bed for 10 hours straight, injected with unknown substances, and subjected to electroshock. The video was filled with my agonized screams as my mind began to break. My hysteria only earned me more torture, which he filmed to prove his worth to Liam. An entire week. I had endured an entire week of that. By the end of the video, Chloe's eyes were blood red, and her body was shaking uncontrollably. So that was the hell I had been living. It had all been Liam from start to finish. And until the very end, she had chosen to believe him. For that monster, she had hurt her own husband again and again, leaving me battered, broken, and in utter despair. She had never believed me. When I tried to explain, she thought I was putting on an act. She forced me to apologize. She locked me away. She made me consume things I was allergic to, then forced me to publicly apologize to Liam. She had used my sister's life as leverage. She had personally sent me to that place to be tortured. And at the end, when I was in so much pain I could barely stand, so numb with despair, she still listened to Liam's whispers, decided I was faking it, and forced me, broken and bruised, to attend his birthday party. Step by step, she had pushed me away. "Where is he?" she cried. "Which hospital is he in? I have to find him." She had to go to him to apologize, to tell him she finally knew the truth. She knew how horribly she had wronged him. She had to see me right now. Chloe scrambled to her feet, ready to run to the hospital, but her assistant blocked her path. Her voice was a raw whisper. "Your husband, he's dead." The words hit Chloe like a physical blow. She collapsed to the floor as if struck by lightning. "He's dead." The words echoed in her mind, but she couldn't process them. What did that mean? Her assistant didn't answer, but simply played one final file. A voice recording. The sound of wind was loud, but the voice was crystal clear. It was Liam. "Why wouldn't I kill you? Your mother, your sister, one in a coma, the other crippled, all because of me. What's one more? Chloe and I grew up together. She's always protected me. I'm not going to lose to some outsider." After Liam's chilling words, she heard my choked gasp for air. Then, a heavy splash. Liam's voice came again, triumphant. "You brought this on yourself, Ethan, for getting in my way. Chloe is mine. She can only be mine." I was dead, pushed off the yacht by Liam, into the churning sea, never to surface again. The pain in Chloe's chest was suffocating. Despair and agony swirled in her eyes, and her head throbbed so intensely she thought she would collapse. But she couldn't collapse. Not yet. Liam, he had killed her, Ethan. It was all his fault. A fire of pure rage ignited in her chest, turning her vision red. She bit her lip, forcing down the violent fury that threatened to erupt. Before she could hunt Liam down, he came to her, putting on his most pathetic act yet. "Chloe, help me. Ethan's trying to have me kidnapped again. He paid someone to drug my drink. I only escaped because I spilled it by accident. He's lost his mind. Chloe, you're the only one who can help me." He burst into the room, playing the part of the terrified victim to perfection. If she hadn't just seen the proof, if she didn't know with absolute certainty that he had murdered me, she might have fallen for it all over again. She might have helped him and turned her anger back on me. That's what she had been doing for the past year, after all. Chloe's voice was a raw, bloody whisper. "You're saying Ethan did this?" Liam nodded eagerly. He looked up, ready to embellish his story, but his eyes fell on the papers on her desk. He stared at the divorce agreement, his face momentarily blank. Then, a slow, genuine smile spread across his face, a triumphant glee he couldn't hide. "Chloe, you and Ethan are divorced?" Chloe's knuckles turned white as she clenched her fists. "Does that make you happy?" she asked, her voice dangerously quiet. Liam couldn't contain his delight. "Of course. I've waited for this day for so long." He still hadn't sensed the danger, eager to finally confess. "Chloe, I love you. I've loved you for so long. When you got married, I was devastated. I begged my parents to intervene, but they said you were the one who insisted on marrying him. I thought I'd lost my chance. But now I see that's not true. You care about me. You worry about me. You have feelings for me too, don't you? Is that why you divorced him? To be with me? You should have thrown him out long ago. You have no idea. He's trying to hurt me again." He was still smiling when she lunged, grabbing a fistful of his hair and yanking his head back. "You say he's trying to frame you? He's dead, Liam. So tell me, how is a dead man framing you?" "You lied to me." Her face and voice were terrifyingly dark. Because he had once helped her, she had always been gentle, forgiving. He had never seen this side of her. The word dead made his stomach drop. He didn't know how she could possibly know that I was dead, but he was a practiced liar. He feigned innocence, even as his heart hammered against his ribs. Panic made his scalp prickle, but he forced the words out. "Chloe, I must have been mistaken. I just love you so much. How can you be doing this to me?" He struggled to get away, but her bodyguards appeared and pinned him to the floor. His scalp burned where she'd torn his hair, and his face flushed with pain and fear. "Liam," she said, her voice deadly calm, "there are consequences for lying to me." Her expression was so terrifyingly grim, a look he had never seen before, that his heart seemed to stop in his chest. He forced a weak smile. "Chloe, what's gotten into you? I didn't know anything had happened to Ethan. I'm just still on edge from the kidnapping. I saw someone lurking outside my room this morning and I panicked." Before he could finish, Chloe shot up from her chair and wrapped her hands around his throat. In that moment, Liam had no doubt she was going to kill him. His face turned purple as he gasped for air, trying to pull away. "Chloe, what's wrong? I'm not lying. You've misunderstood. Tell them to let me go. I can't breathe." But Chloe only ordered her men to hold him tighter. Within a minute, he was on the verge of blacking out. Tears blurred his vision as his eyes rolled back in his head, his lungs burning. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, she finally gave the signal to release him. He was thrown aside, his chest heaving as he gasped for air. Before he could recover, Chloe grabbed him by the head and slammed it into the wall with all her might. Blood streamed from his forehead into his eyes, turning his vision red. He curled into a ball, consumed by the agonizing pain. When he finally managed to look at her, he saw the murderous storm in her eyes, and his heart stopped. A terrible sense of foreboding washed over him. Fighting through the dizziness, Liam gritted his teeth. "Chloe, what is wrong with you? What did I do? Why are you doing this? If I made you angry, if you hate me, I can just leave. Why are you hurting me like this?" He covered his face, feigning a complete breakdown. In the past, this was all it took. The mere suggestion that he might leave would make her heart ache for him, and she would grant his every wish. Her favoritism had always been his trump card, and he was sure this time would be no different. But when he looked up, her eyes held only cold, undisguised disgust. She looked at him as if he were garbage. Something was terribly wrong. A chill went down his spine, and he scrambled to his feet, trying to flee. But Chloe just sneered and waved her hand. The door slammed shut. Her bodyguards moved to block his path. "You're not going anywhere, Liam. You plotted against Ethan, you drove him to his death, and now you think you can just walk away? That's letting you off too easy. I want you dead." Liam thought he must have misheard her. Before he could process her words, she stood up, grabbed a heavy glass sculpture from the desk, and brought it down on his head. There was a sickening crunch as glass and blood went flying. Liam screamed and collapsed. A cruel smile touched Chloe's lips as she brought her heel down on his body, grinding the shattered glass into his flesh. The sound was sickeningly clear in the quiet room. A savage fury burned in her eyes. Ignoring his screams, she put all her weight into it, twisting her heel back and forth. Soon, the pristine white carpet was stained crimson. Liam lay motionless, the pain too intense to even move, his shallow breaths the only sign he was still alive. "Chloe, how can you do this?" he whimpered. "I'm going to die," she sneered, forcing Ethan's hand onto a hot stove and faking an allergic reaction, hiring thugs to beat him and calling it a misunderstanding, staging your own kidnapping to turn me against him, conspiring with that sadist to torture him, and finally, pushing him into the ocean at your birthday party. You did all of that, didn't you, Liam? You never seemed to care that Ethan could die. Liam's face went as white as the wall. His heart leaped into his throat. How could she know? "How dare you, Liam?" she hissed. "Out of respect for our history, I helped you. I protected you, even when it meant hurting Ethan's own mother. You wanted a career, influence, money. Was there anything I didn't give you? Why did you have to hurt Ethan? Because of you, he's gone forever. I've lost my family. I'll never see him again. So you tell me, Liam, what can I do to you that will ever be enough to earn his forgiveness?" Liam shook his head frantically, his face ashen, his body trembling. "No, I didn't. I never hurt Ethan. Chloe, I didn't do it. Don't you believe me? Someone must be framing me. That's what this is. Chloe, please, believe me. It's a misunderstanding. Let me go, you're hurting me." He knew there were no cameras on that part of the deck. As long as he denied everything, there was no proof. He was drenched in a cold sweat, his face a mask of pain, but he managed to get the words out between agonized cries. But Chloe just sneered. Her face was a tight mask of fury as she finally lifted her foot. Just as Liam began to think his pathetic display was working, that she might let him go, she crouched down and played a recording from her phone. It was the recording of him pushing me into the sea. The sound hit him like a bolt of lightning, and all the strength drained from his body. She knew. His pupils constricted, and he began to tremble violently. "No, that's not." He tried to argue, but with a wave of her hand, Chloe silenced him. Her bodyguard seized him, dragged him out into the courtyard, and threw him, bound, onto the pavement. In an instant, he knew what she was planning. She was going to do to him what she had done to Sarah. A set of blinding headlights flared to life, and his mind went blank. When his vision cleared, he found himself surrounded by 4 cars, their engines idling. A cold sweat broke out over his entire body. He struggled against his bonds, but it was useless. "Chloe, I know I was wrong, but it was an accident. I didn't mean for him to fall. Chloe, please, don't do this. Help me, please. I know I was wrong. Just let me go." Chloe didn't even look at him. His face grew paler, his lips turning white. "Chloe, you can't do this to me. Have you forgotten? I helped you when we were kids. I'm the one who pulled you out of your shell. You wouldn't be who you are today without me. You can't do this." The fact that he had saved her had always been his shield. He hadn't anticipated that my death would push her this far, but he was still confident. He believed that if he played that card, she would come to her senses. She would accept that my death was an accident, and with time, this would all blow over. In the end, he would be the one by her side. A flicker of hope ignited in his eyes. But as he watched, hope shining in his eyes, Chloe simply waved her hand. One of the cars rolled forward, crushing his hand beneath its tire. A piercing scream echoed through the empty courtyard, and that was only the beginning. After having the bloody, broken Liam committed to a psychiatric hospital, Chloe received a call from her assistant. "Ma'am, they've recovered the body. It's him." The phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. Chloe stumbled backward, falling to the ground. Her hands landed in the broken glass from earlier, and blood welled from the cuts, but she didn't even notice. Dazed, she scrambled back to her feet and staggered out the door. After a frantic series of cars and boats, she finally reached the Coast Guard vessel that had recovered my body. As much as she didn't want to look, she couldn't stop herself. There it was, the body they had pulled from the water. I had been in the water for a week. The chances of survival were slim to none. But Chloe had clung to a desperate hope, imagining I'd been rescued, or that I'd managed to cling to the yacht and pull myself back aboard. As long as they were still searching, she could still pretend. But the body lying before her tore that fantasy to shreds. After so long in the water, my body was bloated and pale, mutilated by marine life, my features swollen beyond recognition. For a moment, Chloe forgot how to breathe. Her mind was a white void of static, the blood draining from her face, her eyes wide with horror and disbelief. She stood frozen, staring at the crude reality of the body on the deck. She couldn't accept it. The man who had been alive just a week ago, the man who was so vibrant in her memories, whose eyes had always held such gentle love for her, how could he be lying here now, so still and lifeless? After a long silence, she heard her own voice, a raw, broken sound. "You're saying that's Ethan?" Her first instinct was denial. It had to be a mistake, but the words died in her throat. Even from a distance, even with my face obscured, she knew it was me. She recognized the scar on my hand, the one from the burn. Chloe's eyelashes trembled, and for a terrifying moment, her heart seemed to stop. Her vision blurred with tears, her eyes stinging and red. "We're sorry for your loss, ma'am," a voice said gently. The DNA results confirmed it. It's him. It was a truth she couldn't escape, no matter how much she wanted to. I was dead. With a soft thud, Chloe's knees hit the deck. As if on cue, the dark sky opened up and a torrential rain began to fall, soaking her to the bone. She didn't seem to notice, just knelt there, trembling and muttering to herself. "Ethan, wake up. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please don't be angry with me anymore. Wake up, okay? Please don't scare me like this." She took my hand, rubbing it desperately between hers, trying to bring some warmth back into my cold flesh. But no matter how long she tried, my skin remained icy cold. She was forced to accept the reality. I wasn't angry with her. I was simply gone. The realization finally hit her, and she broke down completely, sobbing, begging the body in her arms to wake up. With trembling hands, she wiped away the seawater, clinging to the insane hope that if she could just make me warm again, I would open my eyes. She repeated the motion endlessly as the sky darkened and the world grew quiet. Only then, in the cold and the dark, did the reality of my death truly sink in. Her husband was dead. Ethan was dead. And in that moment, everything she had done to me came rushing back. Regret, despair, grief. The emotions overwhelmed her, and fresh tears streamed down her face. She clutched my body to her chest, her voice a broken wail of despair. "Ethan, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry. I killed you. I'm so sorry. Thousands of miles away, I lay in a hospital bed, watching a news report about Chloe's current state. I watched for a moment, then looked away. Even from this distance, I had been able to piece together most of what had happened since my death from the news. I knew she hadn't gotten together with Liam. In fact, she'd thrown him out and even tried to have our divorce annulled. I knew she had found out that Liam had killed me, that she had broken down, and that she had taken her revenge on him. She had also settled the score with everyone else who had hurt me, especially that fake psychiatrist. I knew she had arranged my funeral and now spent her days visiting my grave, but her sudden, dramatic repentance meant nothing to me. In fact, I found it almost laughable. For the last year, my hatred for Chloe had been all-consuming. I hated her for her distrust, for hurting me and my family for Liam's sake. But at some point, after she forced me to drop the lawsuit, after she ran over my sister's legs, after she sent me to that sadist, the hatred just vanished. All I wanted was to be free of her, to never see her again for the rest of my life. Now, when I think of Chloe, I feel nothing at all. No love, no hate, just a quiet calm. As for why I left the video file, I admit I was using her. We had been together for years. I knew her. I knew that despite everything, despite how she always chose Liam, a part of her still cared for me. Letting her know the truth, using her to destroy Liam, was part of my plan from the beginning, as long as it didn't jeopardize my escape. I had endured so much humiliation to get away. I couldn't let Liam get away with what he'd done. He had to pay, and now he has. My goal is accomplished. From now on, I won't waste any more time thinking about Chloe. With that thought, I turned off the TV and started to get out of bed to get some water. It had been 3 months since my escape. After being pulled from the water, I had been in a coma for some time. Mr. Sterling had brought me to this hospital in Denver, left a substantial amount of money for my care, and then, as we had agreed, cut all ties. I had only woken up recently. My injuries were so extensive that I was still confined to the hospital. Sarah was in physical therapy, and my mother was under constant nursing care. None of us had left the hospital grounds. Just as I was pulling back the covers, I heard footsteps at the door. I looked up, and my eyes met a familiar, gentle gaze. A tall, slender woman walked into the room. Dr. Ava Miller, dressed in a simple t-shirt under her white lab coat, walked briskly to my bedside, her dark eyes fixed on mine. The moment our gazes met, I quickly looked away. She spoke first, her voice gentle. "You're not supposed to be out of bed yet. If you need anything, just use the call button." Ava helped me sit back down, placing a thermos and a container of soup on the bedside table before beginning her examination. Her cool palm on my forehead made me flinch. "Still a slight fever," she said, her tone professional. "Eat something first, then we'll get you your medication. How are you feeling otherwise? Anything besides the headache and fever? Your latest labs have stabilized. If nothing changes, you should be able to be discharged after a bit more observation." Ava was my attending physician, but she was also an old friend of my sister's. When I was first brought in, the list of my injuries was long. A moderate concussion, internal bleeding, burns, fractures, severe anemia. When Ava realized who I was, she worked for 3 days straight, resuscitating me 3 separate times, and somehow managed to pull me back from the brink. Throughout my hospital stay, she was the one who cared for me. In the beginning, when I couldn't even move, she fed me and helped me drink. Later, she was the one supporting me as I took my first steps in physical therapy. She was always there, doing everything herself. I felt awkward about it, but Ava insisted that as my doctor, it was her job, and I should just accept it. She was diligent and incredibly skilled. After 3 months under her care, my body had finally started to heal. I smiled at her. "I'm feeling much better, really. Thank you for everything. You're so busy, yet you still find time to bring me food. When I get out of here, I'm definitely taking you out to a proper dinner to thank you." Ava laughed softly. "Okay, I'll hold you to that." After I was finally discharged, I rented a house near the hospital. Even though I was better, I still went every day to be with my mother. One afternoon, I sat in Ava's office with a thermos, quietly waiting for her shift to end. I'd been under her care for so long, and I hate feeling indebted to people. So, to make me feel better about it, Ava had proposed a deal. She was often too busy to eat during her shifts, so once I was discharged, I could bring her food whenever I came to visit my mother. It was something I could easily do, so I agreed. After that, nearly every day, I would bring an extra container of soup with me to the hospital, sit in her office while she ate, and then take the empty container home with me. It became our routine. I was at the hospital so often that I eventually became friends with the nurses. We'd gossip during their downtime, and if our days off lined up, We'd sometimes even hang out outside the hospital. As I reached Ava's office, a couple of the nurses I was friendly with saw me and invited me out for drinks after their shift. I just shook my head. Can't tonight. Dr. Miller needed to see me about something. One of them laughed. Oh, right, big plans. Another one chimed in. So, are you two together yet, or what? I froze for a second. The last few times you've been here, Dr. Miller has been in the best mood, the first nurse said, leaning in conspiratorially. We all thought you two had finally made it official. You should just ask her out already. My hand paused mid-motion. She's just being nice to me because she's friends with my sister. It's not anything more than that. Before I could finish, the nurse was shaking her head. No way. She's definitely into you. I've worked here for years, and I've never seen her act like this with anyone. That's not how you look at a friend's brother. The other day, you didn't bring her soup, and she was in a terrible mood all afternoon. And get this, a patient in the next room was gossiping about your family, and Dr. Miller got so angry she canceled their elective surgery. She's so worried about missing you when you visit that she's actually paid us extra to make sure someone is always looking out for you. Does that sound like a normal doctor-patient relationship to you? I just stood there, stunned. She's a great catch, Ethan. If you like her, you should go for it. The nurse's teasing made my face flush. What are we talking about? Calm voice said from behind me. It was Ava standing in the doorway. The nurses quickly made their excuses and scattered, leaving the two of us alone in the office. I thought that would be the end of it, but she just stood there, looking at me intently. I was certain she had heard everything. Ava didn't beat around the bush. Ethan, they were right. I do like you. So, I was wondering if you might consider giving me a chance. As she spoke, she pulled 2 tickets from her desk drawer. They were for the art exhibit I had mentioned wanting to see last week. I stared at the tickets, lost in thought. I knew she had feelings for me. I had sensed it for a while now. The way she treated me went far beyond the bounds of a doctor-patient relationship, or even just helping out a friend's brother. But she had never said anything explicit, so we had fallen into this comfortable but undefined routine. Now, looking into her nervous, hopeful eyes, there was no doubt. She liked me, but I wasn't sure I was ready for a new relationship. As I was trying to figure out how to let her down gently, she placed the tickets on the table between us. She smiled softly. Ethan, if you're hesitating because you're not interested in me, just say the word. I won't push it, and these tickets will disappear into a drawer forever. But if you're hesitating because you're just not ready for something new, could you maybe give me a chance? We could just start slow, see how it goes. If at any point you feel it's not right, we can stop, no questions asked. What do you think? I looked at the tickets, then back at Ava. I had to admit, she was an incredible person. Her career, her looks, her personality, she was the whole package. She was straightforward and kind, and she had a way of putting people at ease. Even my sister, Sarah, adored her, and since I was well and truly done with Chloe, what was the harm in trying to move on? After a moment's thought, I made my decision. Okay, I said, a real smile touching my lips for the first time in a long time. Let's give it a try. The full story of Liam's botched surgery finally came to light. The one-handed procedure, the attempt to murder my mother with an injection afterward, and the subsequent campaign to destroy my family. The headlines were brutal. Killer doctor must pay. Where is he hiding? Drag him out and throw him in prison. The online outrage was deafening. Locked away in a basement, Liam watched the news reports calling for his head. So terrified he tried to hug himself, only to be reminded that his hands were now useless, mangled stumps. As a surgeon, he had lost the one thing he valued most, his hands. His future was gone. It's not my fault, he raved at the television. I did nothing wrong. All this for 2 worthless lives. Chloe, how could you do this to me? Let me out. You can't do this to me. Chloe sat in her study, watching Liam's descent into madness on a security monitor, her own eyes completely devoid of emotion. Her gaze was numb and hollow as she mechanically polished the frame of my photograph over and over again. 6 months had passed since my death. When she first learned the truth, her immediate instinct was to kill Liam. But their families were too interconnected for her to act openly. So she had him abducted and his injuries staged to look like an accident. He was now her prisoner, kept in her basement, tended to by her staff. She didn't know how she had made it through the last 6 months. At first, torturing Liam had brought her a sick sense of satisfaction, a feeling of vengeance. But as the quiet nights wore on, she came to a devastating realization. She was the one who had truly killed me. Night after night, she had broken down. Just yesterday, she had been discharged from the hospital after a bout of stress-induced gastritis from drinking too much. Now, her father was on the phone. Come home, Chloe. We need to talk. After the call, she carefully locked my photograph away in a safe, then slowly, mechanically, had her driver bring the car around. The moment she walked in the door, her father's anger flared at the sight of her empty, lifeless expression. "Look at you. You're a ghost of your former self. A man is dead. Find another one. What are you torturing yourself for? You were never that in love with Ethan to begin with. Even when you were married to him, you always favored Liam." Her father's words were harsh, but Chloe seemed not to hear them. Seeing he was finished, she turned to leave. "Stop," he roared. "I have 2 documents in my study that need your signature. Sign them, then you can go." Chloe simply nodded. She walked mechanically into the study. Without even glancing at the contracts on the desk, she signed her name. As she turned to leave, her eyes fell on her father's safe. It hadn't been closed properly, and a file had slipped out. She frowned, picked it up, and idly flipped through the pages. Suddenly, her eyes, which had been as dull as stagnant water, came alive, churning with a powerful, tumultuous emotion. The document was titled Cooperative Agreement for Feigned Demise. The signature at the bottom was mine. It detailed her father's role in helping me fake my death and disappear. Ethan wasn't dead. He had worked with her father to escape. Chloe stood there for a long time, stunned, then began to laugh and cry at the same time, on the verge of hysteria. She couldn't wait another second. She rushed home and gave the file to her assistant, ordering her to run a search on the new identity her father had created for me. The moment she got the results, she was heading for her car, but as she reached the door, a sharp, stabbing pain erupted in her side. She looked down to see the tip of a bloody knife protruding from her waist. Her white dress bloomed red, and all the strength drained from her body. She opened her mouth to scream, but only a mouthful of blood came out. She stumbled forward, and her attacker yanked the knife free, only to plunge it into her leg. "Die!" a voice hissed. Her dress was soaked in blood. She collapsed to the floor, a loud ringing in her ears. Through her blurry vision, she saw Liam's contorted, snarling face. "You deserve this, Chloe. You're the one who should be dead. How dare you blame me? You're the one who ruined me. Did you really think torturing me would make Ethan forgive you? Let me tell you something. That's never going to happen. You're the one who really killed him. You're the one who deserves to live with that guilt for the rest of your life. Why aren't you the one who's dead?" Do you know the last thing he said before he went into the water? He said he hated you. He said he would hate you forever. He never wanted to see you again, not in this life or the next. He wished us a long and happy life together. His crazed shrieking was drowned out by the wail of approaching sirens. Then, everything went silent. Her mind was filled with a single, repeating image, me, telling her that I hated her. She knew I hated her. She wanted to run to me, to hold me, but she couldn't. All she could do was relive the memory, over and over, hearing me say those words. She woke from the nightmare with a start, remembering her mission. She had to find me. She struggled to get out of the hospital bed, but after several attempts, she realized she didn't even have the strength to stand. "Your internal organs were damaged," a nurse told her sternly. "You can't be discharged yet. Leaving now could kill you." Chloe didn't care. She fought to leave, so violently that several doctors and nurses couldn't restrain her. By the time they subdued her, her bandages were soaked with fresh blood. In the end, it was her father who finally calmed her down by offering her a deal. "Focus on getting better," he told her. "The day you're discharged, I'll give you Ethan's address. There's no use going now. You don't know where he is. You'll never find him." It was true. All she knew was that I was alive. She had no idea where I'd gone. Finally, she relented. For the next 6 months, she followed her father's orders, cooperating with her doctors and physical therapists. After half a year, when she was finally deemed healthy enough, her father allowed her to be discharged. "Ethan is in Denver," he told her. "His mother is in a hospital there. He visits her regularly. You can find him there." Chloe turned to leave without a word. "Chloe," her father called after her, "you're the one who threw this marriage away. If you're determined to get him back, don't be a fool about it." He handed her a key card, and her eyes lit up. The first thing she did after leaving was set out to find me. She drove all day, arriving at the hospital in Denver just after midnight, where she settled in to wait. I had opened a small bookstore in Denver, not far from the hospital. On weekends, it was busy, and I often stayed open late into the night. The pace of life here was slower than in New York. The sun was warm, the air was clean, and I was starting to feel at peace. I had been here for a year now. In that time, I had gone from feeling like a stranger to feeling truly at home. My physical wounds had healed, leaving only a few scars to remind me of what I had been through. The rest I had mostly forgotten. Mr. Sterling had given me enough money to start a new life, and I had used it to open the bookstore. The work was quiet and peaceful, and it left me plenty of time to visit my mother and to see Ava. Sarah had made a full recovery, passed the bar exam again, and was now working at a prestigious local firm. Life was calm and orderly, the only shadow being my mother's continued unresponsiveness. One night, as I was closing up the shop, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ava. "Ethan, get to the hospital. There's been a change with your mother. Her vitals were fluctuating. Could be a sign that she was waking up." The fog of exhaustion instantly vanished. My eyes burned with sudden, hopeful tears as I flagged down a cab and rushed to the hospital. I had just stepped out of the cab at the hospital entrance when a pair of arms wrapped around me from behind, holding me in a tight, desperate embrace. I was so surprised I froze. A familiar voice, choked with emotion, spoke from behind me. The arms tightened, as if trying to fuse our bodies together. "Ethan, it's really you. I finally found you. You're alive." Her voice was a mixture of relief and pure joy. "I thought you were dead. I was so lost. Thank God you're alive." She moved to stand in front of me, her eyes scanning my face, as if memorizing every detail. As she stared, her eyes filled with tears again, which spilled over and dripped onto my shirt. "This past year has been agony," she sobbed. "I wanted to die, to be with you, but I knew you hated me, and I knew I had to atone for what I'd done. For over a year, I haven't had a single good night's sleep. I've spent every day repenting. Ethan, why didn't you come back to me? How could you let me believe you were dead? How could you be so cruel?" It was Chloe. She had found me. I had never expected this. I stood there, stunned, for a full 30 seconds before my mind started working again. Her father had broken his promise. Chloe was holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I tilted my head back to get some air, then pushed her away with all my strength. My expression was cold, my rejection absolute. This reunion brought me no joy, only a profound sense of annoyance. My mother was the only thing that mattered right now. I had no time for this. I turned to leave, but Chloe wouldn't let me. She stepped in front of me, trying to embrace me again. "Ethan, don't go. Please, don't be like this. I've missed you so much. I've missed you more than anything. Ever since I found out you were alive 6 months ago, I've been dreaming of this day. I know I was wrong. I'm so sorry. It was all my fault. I made Liam pay for what he did. Everyone knows the truth now. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. His life is over. And I've paid a price too. I was stabbed. I spent 6 months in the hospital. Ethan, please, for the sake of all the years we had together, for the fact that I know how wrong I was, can you please forgive me?" Chloe had been born with a silver spoon in her mouth. People had always deferred to her. She had never had to beg for anything in her life. But now her eyes were pleading, her words steeped in a humility that was completely foreign to her, as if her pride meant nothing compared to getting me back. But her seemingly heartfelt speech just made me sick to my stomach. "Chloe, stop," I said, my voice filled with revulsion. "You're making me sick. Let go of me, now." She froze for a fraction of a second, and in that moment, I wrenched myself free. I turned to face her, my expression completely blank. "Forgive you? Do you really think you have the right to ask for that? Don't be ridiculous. We're done. Leave me alone." With that, I turned and ran into the hospital, leaving her standing frozen on the sidewalk, her face as white as a sheet. She had never imagined I could be so absolute. The encounter with Chloe barely registered. My mind was completely focused on my mother. When I reached her room, Ava and several other doctors were gathered around her bed, quietly discussing the readings on her monitor. Ava saw me and waved me over. The other doctors gave her a nod and filed out of the room, leaving the 3 of us alone. "What is it?" I asked, my voice urgent. "What's happening?" Ava handed me a chart. "We were just discussing it. Her will to live is incredibly strong. Based on these numbers, there's a real possibility she might wake up." My eyes instantly filled with tears. This was the news I had been waiting to hear for so long. For 2 years, I had gone from being told there was no hope to this, a real possibility. As long as there was a chance, I would wait. 3 years, 5, 10, it didn't matter. Seeing my emotion, Ava put a comforting hand on my arm. "I promise you, Ethan, we're going to bring her back to you." I nodded, unable to speak. Ava was about to say something else when the door to the room burst open. It was Chloe. "Ethan, please, just listen to me. I really do love you. I can't live without you. Just give me one more chance to make it up to you." I couldn't believe she had followed me here, that she would dare to cause a scene in my mother's room. My face hardened. I pressed the nurse's call button and turned to her with a cold sneer. "Shut up." She opened her mouth to speak again, but I grabbed the nearest object, a water pitcher, and hurled it at her. "Your voice is filth in this room. I told you to shut up, Chloe. Look at my mother. Look at what you did to her. How dare you come in here and ask for my forgiveness? How dare you say you love me? Does an apology make all the pain disappear? Does torturing Liam make my mother wake up? No, because of you and him, my mother is lying in this bed, and my sister's bones were shattered. I remember everything you did. I will never forget it. We are divorced. We have nothing more to say to each other. The best thing you can do for me is to get out of my life and never come back. For the first time in a long time, I felt a powerful emotion surge through me, not for Chloe, but for my mother. I felt nothing for Chloe anymore, but when I thought of the people responsible for my mother's condition, I was filled with a murderous rage. A look of anguish crossed Chloe's face. 1,000 excuses died on her lips, leaving only 2 words. I'm sorry. She started to say more, but the nurses had arrived and were gesturing for her to leave. I turned my back on her, unwilling to even listen. With no other choice, she left. But she didn't drive away. She just sat in her car outside the hospital. My reaction hadn't deterred her. In her mind, hate was just the other side of love. She believed that after 6 years of marriage, a sincere enough apology would eventually win me over. In the past, whenever she made me angry, I would give her the silent treatment for a few days. But eventually, I would cool down, and if she apologized sincerely, I would always forgive her. After all, we had been married for 6 years. With that thought, a flicker of hope returned to her eyes. She waited outside the hospital all night, but I never came out. Just as she was drifting off to sleep, there was a sharp rap on her car window. Thinking it was me, she looked up eagerly, only to see 2 police officers standing there. You must have the wrong person, she said, confused. Chloe Sterling, from New York City, correct? One of the officers asked, looking her over. Chloe nodded, still dazed. The next moment, her door was opened, and her hands were pulled behind her back and cuffed. Then we have the right person, the officer said, pulling her from the car. Chloe struggled. You've made a mistake. I'm waiting for my husband. I can't leave. As she spoke, her eyes locked on me. I was standing in the hospital doorway, watching. Our eyes met, and the coldness in my gaze silenced her. What husband? The officer scoffed. The man divorced you. You're his ex-wife, and you're being arrested for stalking and harassment. As she was pushed into the back of the squad car, the reality of the situation finally seemed to hit her, her eyes filling with a deep, sorrowful pain. I hated her. I hated her so much that I had been the one to call the police. As I had expected, Chloe didn't give up. After 3 days in a holding cell, the first thing she did upon release was come right back to find me. I refused to see her, but she would wait for me everywhere, outside my apartment, at the bookstore, at the hospital, always with a bag of breakfast food in her hand. Ethan, it's all your favorite food. Please, just eat something. Ethan, I know I was wrong. Please, just give me one more chance. Ethan, I'll accept any punishment for what I did. The burns, the car crash, whatever you want to do to me to make things even, I'll take it. Your indifference is more painful than any physical injury. Please don't be so cold. Just give me a chance to make things right. Ethan, I want to take you home. She would wait all night outside my building, or all day outside my shop, just to say these few words. These words she thought were so full of love, but which only filled me with disgust. I was so tired of her harassment that I just closed the shop early and went home. Ava was working the night shift, so I left the lights off, save for a single small lamp. I sat on the couch, trying to get some work done while I waited for her. I don't know how long I'd been there when I started to drift off. I lay down on the couch and fell into a light sleep. I thought I heard someone call my name, but I dismissed it as part of a dream until I heard the distinct sound of my front door lock turning. Thinking it was Ava, home early from her shift, I didn't move, just waited for her to come and wake me. A moment later, a dark figure knelt by the couch and gently stroked my face. The moment their skin touched mine, I was wide awake. Something was wrong. This person's hand began to wander, and their scent wasn't Ava's familiar, clean smell of antiseptic. Realizing it wasn't Ava, a jolt of panic shot through me. I shoved the person away. Who's there? I yelled, grabbing a glass from the coffee table and throwing it in their direction. As it shattered on the floor, I heard a familiar voice cry out, Ethan, it's me. A gash on Chloe's forehead was bleeding freely, the blood streaming down her face. She wiped it away with the back of her hand, her voice frantic. It's me. You wouldn't listen to me, so I had to come find you. Her voice was choked with tears, which glistened in the dim light. Ethan, I didn't know what else to do. You wouldn't see me. What do I have to do to make you come home? I never wanted to divorce you. I never wanted any of this. Her voice was pleading, and she threw her arms around me again, a desperate, possessive gesture. Fighting back a wave of nausea, I shoved her away again, this time with all my strength. She stumbled backward and fell to the floor. I went to the door, wanting only to get away from her, but I found the lock had been broken. A cold fury washed over me, and I began to shake with rage. Chloe, we are divorced. I have a good life now. I have someone I love. Can you please just leave me alone? Get out of my life. I glared at her, then began grabbing whatever I could find and throwing it at her. Get out. Chloe just stared at me, her body rigid, her eyes turning a furious, painful red. She didn't believe me about having a new partner. She thought I was just trying to hurt her. Her lips moved, and she started to take a step toward me. But at that moment, the front door burst open. A figure stormed in and kicked Chloe, sending her flying into the wall. The impact echoed through the room, followed by a muffled groan. It was Ava. She rushed to my side, checking me for injuries, and let out a sigh of relief when she saw only a small cut on my finger. Her gaze, now icy cold, fell on Chloe. Take her to the police station, she said. As if on cue, two large men I didn't recognize entered the apartment and restrained Chloe. But Chloe fought back with a surprising strength, her eyes locked on Ava, who now had her arms around me. Her pupils trembled with disbelief. What is your relationship? She demanded. She didn't have to wait long for an answer. Her eyes scanned the room, and for the first time, she noticed the photographs. Pictures of me and Ava, holding hands, embracing, kissing. My new life, my new love, it wasn't a lie. It was real. The color drained from her face. She shook her head, refusing to accept what she was seeing. Ethan, no. You can't do this to me. I can't stand to see you with someone else. It's too cruel. You're just doing this to get back at me, aren't you? You can punish me any way you want, but please, not like this. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I was wrong to lock you up, to poison you, to threaten you with your sister, to send you to that place. I never believed you, and it was all my fault. Ethan, what do I have to do to make you forgive me? You can do all of it back to me, everything, just please, forgive me. My only reply as I leaned wearily against Ava was, get her out of here. After Chloe was gone, Ava gently calmed me down. She carefully bandaged my cut finger and was about to start cleaning up the mess on the floor when I grabbed her hand. Don't go, I said. Stay with me. Ava noticed that I was trembling. She immediately pulled me into a hug, holding me close. She didn't ask any questions, just held me, waiting for me to speak in my own time. The room was silent, save for the sound of our heartbeats. After a few moments, I spoke. That woman, that was Chloe, my ex-wife. She's the reason my mother is in a coma, the reason my sister's legs were broken. She's the reason for these scars. And now she's come back, asking me to take her back. Ava's expression darkened. She had suspected as much after the incident at the hospital. She thought back to when I had first arrived, covered in bruises and burns, with broken bones and countless scars. A sharp pain lanced through her heart. She had known I'd been through something terrible, but hearing the details from Chloe's own mouth still made her ache for me. Was it all true? She asked, her voice tight with anger. Did she really do all those things to you? How could she? When I didn't deny it, Ava's heart broke. She pulled me into a gentle hug. Ethan, that will never happen to you again. Promise. I will take care of you, and I'll take care of your family. As for Chloe, Ava's eyes hardened. How could someone who had hurt Ethan so badly have the audacity to show up and beg for forgiveness? The only place she belonged was in a hospital bed of her own. She gave a subtle nod to one of the men who had taken Chloe away. He nodded back and slipped out of the room. Later that night, after I had fallen asleep, Ava left the apartment and drove off into the darkness. She arrived at a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Inside, her men dragged a bound and gagged Chloe and threw her at Ava's feet. Ava looked down at her, her expression unreadable. The burns, she said to her men, the car crash, and the psychiatric hospital replicated. For a long time after that night, Chloe was nowhere to be seen. I assumed she had finally given up until I overheard a phone call of Ava's and realized what had really happened. Ava had had her committed to a private psychiatric facility where she was being treated for a severe mental breakdown. It was only when her father hired private investigators for his birthday that he finally located her and had her released. My first thought was whether he had caused any trouble for Ava. Thankfully, he hadn't. Don't ever do something so risky again, I told her later. The Sterlings are ruthless. What if they had come after you? Is she really worth ruining your life over? Ava took my trembling hand in hers, a wide, genuine smile spreading across her face. Even while Chloe was being dealt with, my only concern had been for Ava's safety. It was the first time, she told me later, that she truly understood that I cared more for her than I ever had for Chloe. "I promise never again," she said. "I won't let you worry like that again. She's not worth it." Hearing her promise, I finally relaxed. Another 6 months flew by. It was Valentine's Day. Sarah was busy with work and had a new boyfriend, and she wanted to spend the next few days at the hospital with him, keeping our mother company. That left me with some free time, and since Ava also had a rare day off, I closed the shop early so we could go on a proper date. At 3 o'clock, I was driving to the hospital to pick her up. The road was empty, but as I drove through a tunnel, a black car with an obscured license plate suddenly appeared behind me, driving aggressively. I sensed something was wrong and sped up, trying to get out of the tunnel, but the car behind me accelerated too, ramming into my bumper. My heart leaped into my throat. I swerved, trying to get away, but no matter what I did, the car kept ramming me, relentlessly. I gritted my teeth, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, and with one hand, I managed to dial 911. After giving the dispatcher my location, I called Ava. Her calm, gentle voice was a lifeline. "Hey, what's up? Are you on your way?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "Someone's trying to run me off the road. Their plates are covered. I'm just out of the tunnel, about 2 miles from the hospital." "Okay," she said, her voice instantly sharp and focused. "Hold on, I'm coming." I hung up and tried to swerve, to lose them, but they drifted expertly, scraping along the side of my car with a deafening screech of metal on metal. The impact sent my car skidding, nearly off the road entirely. My face was ashen as I wrestled with the steering wheel, forcing the car back under control, my heart hammering against my ribs. My palms were slick with sweat. In that moment, I was sure I was going to die. They were here to kill me. Just then, I saw a flash of high beams ahead. It was Ava. A wave of relief washed over me, but before I could even process it, the car behind me accelerated one last time, aiming for a final, decisive impact. But the crash never came. Instead, there was a deafening bang from behind me. I looked in my rearview mirror to see 2 cars, tangled together, rolling over and over before coming to a stop in a smoking heap on the side of the road. But neither of them was my car. Another car had appeared from nowhere, intercepting the one that was chasing me. I slammed on the brakes and turned around, my heart seizing with horror when I recognized the driver of the intercepting car. It was Chloe. I stumbled out of my car, and at the sight of her, covered in blood, my legs gave out from under me. Before I even hit the ground, a pair of warm hands caught me. It was Ava. "It's okay. I'm here," she said, her voice a steady anchor in the chaos. "I've called for an ambulance. Everything's going to be okay. Chloe's going to be okay." The ambulance arrived quickly. When they pulled Chloe from the wreckage, she was covered in blood. I followed the paramedics as they loaded her into the ambulance. "Is she alive?" I asked. The paramedic's face was grim. "She's critical. We're doing everything we can." It was the next morning before she was finally wheeled out of the operating room. After 12 hours of surgery, they had managed to save her life, but her injuries were severe. The doctors said it was likely she would be permanently disabled. When I heard the news, the tension that had just left me came rushing back. After Chloe regained consciousness, I went to see her. Her eyes were half closed, but she gripped my wrist with all her remaining strength. "Ethan," she whispered, "I finally did one thing right. Ethan, I don't want to use this to force you. I'm just begging you. Please don't push me away anymore. Let this cancel out everything that happened before. Just give me one more chance." Just saying those few words left her exhausted and gasping for breath. Her eyes were red as she waited, desperate for my answer. A lump formed in my throat. I slowly pulled my hand from her grasp, saying nothing. When I left the hospital, Ava was there to pick me up. "Is the other driver still alive?" I asked. Ava nodded. "They stabilized him, but he's still in a coma." She squeezed my hand, her voice soft. "Don't be afraid. I'm here with you. We'll get through this together." Over the next few days, Chloe called me repeatedly, begging me to visit, but I ignored her calls. Finally, after giving our statements at the police station, Ava and I went to the hospital. The moment I stepped into Chloe's room, her eyes found me. Seeing me, the dim light in her pupils brightened. "Ethan, you finally came. You didn't visit for 3 days. I thought you'd decided never to see me again." When I remained standing by the door, a look of confusion crossed her pale face. "What's wrong?" I met her gaze calmly. Chloe's smile faded, as if she knew what was coming. I didn't say a word. I just took a stack of photographs from my bag, evidence Ava had uncovered, and laid them out on her bed, one by one, where she could see them clearly. "It's all here, Chloe. You hired the driver. You planned the entire crash yourself." Her fingers curled into her palms. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. The light in her eyes died. After a long silence, she spoke, her voice a ragged gasp. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I admit it. I planned it all. I saw you and Ava getting closer, and I panicked. I knew if I didn't do something, I would lose you for good. Ethan, I just love you so much. I never meant for you to get hurt, can't you?" Before she could finish, I cut her off with a single cold word. "No. Even if the crash had been real, even if you had almost died for me, I would not have taken you back. I had time to think when you were in surgery. If you had died, I would have arranged your funeral. If you had been crippled, I would have paid for a caregiver to look after you for the rest of your life. I would have covered every medical bill, every expense, even if it left me with nothing. But taking you back was never an option. And now, knowing you orchestrated the whole thing, there is absolutely no reason for me to forgive you. This is where it ends, Chloe." Tears streamed down Chloe's face. She asked in a broken voice, "Ethan, are you happy without me?" "I'm happier than I ever was with you," I replied, my voice firm. "Yes." Chloe lowered her gaze, trying to hide the bitterness in her eyes. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I destroyed us. I killed the family we had." As she spoke, her eyes welled up with fresh tears, but I remained cold and distant. "Don't apologize. Just let the past be the past. All that matters is that we never have contact again." I walked out of the hospital that day and didn't look back. I didn't see her lying there, motionless, her eyes following me until I was gone. Chloe watched my retreating back without blinking, as if trying to burn the image into her memory forever. Only when I had completely disappeared from view did she finally look away. The crash had taken the last of her body's reserves. Her organs were failing. She would never walk again, and would likely spend the rest of her life tethered to machines just to stay alive. She would never leave that hospital room. For the rest of her days, all that awaited her was endless despair, watching the man she once loved, alive and well, building a new life with another woman. She was filled with bitter regret, but also a strange sense of peace for my happiness. I knew that from now on, with my family by my side and the woman I loved holding my hand, I would continue to build a happy life. As for Chloe, she no longer mattered. The day I returned to Denver, my mother woke up. That same day, I asked Ava to marry me. The incident with Chloe's crash had made one thing crystal clear. When I thought about love, about marriage, the only face I saw was Ava's. I couldn't give a chance to anyone else. From that day forward, with my family and the woman I loved by my side, my life would only get happier.